Gadget UK here again. I'm just going to turn my EST down again. I'm about to do the stereo audio mod. And there's two reasons for this. One, you know, I've listened to recently watched a few videos on YouTube, and some of the games were in stereo, and they sounded absolutely fantastic. You know, I don't know if you're aware, you've got three the Yamaha chip on these STs. You've got 3 sound channels. Well, it outputs 3 channels, 3 independent channels, but they're merged together on anything prior to the STE. In fact, even on the STE, the standard YM audio chip on there, yeah, they're all merged together, so you just get a mono sound. But because there are 3 channels, like I say, if you separate them and put 2 of them to your left and right, you know, one to each, one to the left and right, and then merge the 3rd channel across the other 2, you effectively get stereo. And that works for most games, you know, most games where you've just got basic FM music and stuff, that works fine. Where you've got samples and things, that can be a problem, because the way the developers did use the audio hardware back then was, if they're just specifically doing samples, you know, sort of PCM playback and stuff, they made use for 3 channels. So one channel would be part of a sample, the other, you know, middle channel would be part of the sample, and the 3rd channel would be the remainder. So, you know, and they'd be overlaid each other, you know, the way that they're merged anyway on the output. It would sound, you know, like a voice sample, you know. So anyway, in order to do this, there's a few things. I'll just show you the little board that I've manufactured. You know, put together. You can see this. So this is the exact circuit actually from the Neo Geo audio mod. So you've got 4 caps, 4 resistors. You can see I've got a 3.5mm audio out. There's different ways of doing this. Some people prefer to use phono RCA jacks. I prefer these really. It's less holes on the back of it, and you know, it's easy to get cables that adapt from 3.5mm stereo to phono anyway. And the idea being, like I say, you've got effectively 4 caps there. On one side, I think the right hand side cap there will be, say, the right channel, or channel 1 I should say, because there's no right channel on the YM chip on this. And the middle 2 caps, both of those are connected together. They'll go to the 2nd channel, and then the bottom cap there, or the left cap I should say, will go to the 3rd channel. And like I say, the output, the 2 red wires are just left and right, so it merges the 2. I'll need to do another mod to this, and this is the other reason. I mentioned a couple of reasons why I'm doing this stereo mod. The first one was obviously to add stereo sound, but the second one is I've got what's it called, SAM 2195 Dream chip on the way. And what those are, they're a MIDI synthesizer chip, you know, MIDI synthesizer built onto a single chip, and it's about something like 7mm by 7mm squared. And I'm going to make an internal MIDI synth for this, and output it via another little I'll put another little PCB with a couple of volume adjusters just to get the volume level right, so that it matches the output from the FM chip. And I'll output to this board. It'll mix the left and right, along with the left and right coming out of the YM chip from the ST. So I'll have internal MIDI. But anyway, I'll cover that in a future video, so I'll just tear this down now and start the mod. Right, so there's the Yamaha YM2149, I think it is. And I'll just show you the 2 of the inputs. You've got pin 1 here, marked by the notch, 2, 3 and 4, they're joined, so that's 2 of the audio channels joined, and they then show also to the 3rd, which is 38, which is, so we've got 40, 39, 38. So those 3 pins are joined, like I say, and they feed into one of the capacitors that goes into the audio output. So if I just turn the board over, show you the underneath, hopefully get this on camera. Can you see this here? Yeah. Oh, sorry, wrong. Oh, it's down here. There you go. You can see there's a little bridge there, a little point that just needs cutting there. That'll separate 3 and 4, and then I've just got to work out how to separate these 2, or whichever of these 2 pins is connected to 38. It's obviously not happening underneath here, because I can't see any trace other than the 2 that are joining, the one that's joining pins 3 and 4 there. Right, this is not the cleanest of work. In fact, it's a bit of a mess really, but it's this easiest way with minimal risk, or the least amount of risk I should say, to the board. I know you can see this. All I've done is I've used some cutters and I've just separated that, just lifted it slightly. So, you know, it doesn't look great, but I can still solder to the point on the board, and I could probably get to it from underneath without a problem. And I can actually solder that pin, and I'll use some heat shrink just to connect that to there. You know, connect a wire to that, and then underneath, I'll just show you. Underneath, you're going to see this here. I'll get my finger in the right place. There, yeah, I've just used a little blade just to separate those two tracks. So now all three pins are you know, those two are separate from each other, and pin 38 is separate from those two. So yeah, I'll just check that on the meter just to make sure. Right, well, this is a total success. Yeah, a few injuries along the way and stuff. I've tidied up a few things. I put a bit of heat shrink on that resistor there. Changed these wires. If you remember, I had this. You see this really thin mylar wire. What do you call it? KNR wire. That's a KNR. Call it what you want. I had a couple of those streamed to this across the board to this switch for the 16 megahertz. And the problem is they're really brittle. They're fine, you know, like this, where you've just got one there and it's permanent. It's just sitting there. And it doesn't really get moved and stuff. It's the same with the one that goes to the shifter chip to feed the 16 megahertz in. But yeah, for wires that are leading to switches and things, you know, they're just not good. They just break off every time you're in there and in and out of the machine. You know, they break off. So I replaced those, shortened them and stuff, and tidied it up a little bit. One final thing I'm just going to do in a minute. You can see this. I mentioned this briefly in one of my previous videos. These caps. This is if you look at Exos's website, he's done a lot of information. He's got a detailed article there about this the diagnostics he's done on the DMA stuff with his logic analyzer and his scope and stuff. And these fixes, these do work. For my revision, the Rev C board, I found that sometimes it wouldn't detect my hard disk. And I think it's actually this one. This is the cap here that fixes that. And then you can get problems with read errors. I forget which way around these are. You'd have to look at his article. But I'm going to put some heat shrink on the legs there, just like I've done on these two here. That's about 300 picofarad, I think it is. In capacitance, the two. You know, it's 100, no, 100. And I think that one's 200. You'd need to check his article there for the exact details. I think he recommended something like 360 or 380, as I mentioned in an earlier video. But these do work for me. I mean, one of them clearly wasn't needed, but the other one, in my case, which of the repair it is, has solved any issues I ever had with my hard disk. It's just totally rock solid. Just like the system is, you know, since I swapped out that CPU, put proper 16 megahertz CPU in there, it's just solid. I've played for hours and hours and hours and hours. Each evening, you know, I played for, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday night, I played some of the Indiana Jones, which one was it? Was it Temple of Doom? Last Crusade, that's right. Last Crusade, the LucasArts Scum Adventure, and I played that for a good 3 hours. I got quite significantly into it. I'm really enjoying that game, I have to admit. If you've never played that particular Scum game, it's well worth checking out. But anyway, yeah, back onto the subject in hand here. So, yeah, that's the 16 megahertz switch, like I say, read on the wires and that. But over to the soundboard, I've got a couple of things on here. Obviously I've got a switch, so that's going to be mounted somewhere on the back there, and I've also got the 3.5mm stereo audio socket. I need to find something to put this in. I might do something similar to what I did with the CPU there, with using a bit of this clear plastic stuff from a CD wallet or something. I don't know, I might even just wrap it with insulation tape, because it's a bit hard, you know, it's going to be a bit hard to deal with that really. I don't want anything short in anywhere, but it's probably, if I move these switches and things across, it's going to sit somewhere here, sort of around under the floppy drive area. It might be alright actually if I stick it in one of those little plastic, stick a plastic wallet or something underneath it and stick it down or something. It's not going to shift around, it should be alright. But the interesting thing with this, like I say, my approach was, if you check out mmmonkey.co.uk for the Neo Geo audio mod, I was quite happy. I quite liked, ever since I did that mod, I quite liked the simplicity of the way of merging, you know, having 3 audio inputs and merging one of them with the other 2. It's like a filter / merging type circuit. And that was what the 4 caps are on the 4 resistors, 3 4K7s, 4 4K7s and 4.7 microfarad caps. As long as they're sort of over 5 volts, you should be alright. 6 volts, I mean, whatever the smallest denominator size is for those. I've got 63 volt ones in here, but Yeah, you could use smaller ones, lower voltage, and take smaller footprint size up on the board and stuff. But yeah, that worked to start with, and after about 2 seconds, the sound you could hear the key click. If you held down the space bar, you could hear like click, 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 and the volume would drop. After about 3 or 4 seconds, you could hear it dropping, into fading into nothingness. You just couldn't hear it, and it had me puzzled for a while. I was like, what on earth's going on here, and I started trying to think about the implications of what how this circuit works, the caps and the resistors, and what the implication would be with the audio outputs coming out from these. And it drove me nuts for a while. I was like, I can't really understand how you would get volume out for so many seconds and then it would dissipate into nothing. The volume would just go down and down and down right from the offset, really. And then I started thinking maybe it needs some pull down resistors or something. Maybe there's not enough draw on these pins, but pulling, it needs something that needs to be pulled to ground by a certain amount, and that's exactly what it was. I stuck. You can see these 3 resistors here, sort of ad hoc, a little bit unusual position, but they're there nevertheless, and it works. I'll just zoom so you can see if you can see those a bit clearer. It's a little bit out of focus there. Sorry, that's as good as it's going to get. Yeah, so those 3 1K resistors go across the inputs from ground to each of the 3 inputs, and that works fine. You don't get massive volume out. When you can actually plug if I plug headphones into the 3.5mm socket, I can hear it really clearly. But the way I've done the switch, what the switch does on here, I'll see if we can get this into shot so you can see the pins on there. When you switch it onto one side, obviously you've got two wires coming off there, and those wires go to the left and right audio outputs on the 3.5mm socket effectively. So what you're doing is you're shorting the two channels together, so you've just got a mono in that way, and that sort of works anyway because it's protected to a certain degree by this board. So the inputs are still isolated, but the outputs are joined. And then the other 2 positions in there, again on the same side of the switch. So when you switched it across and it's shorted out left to right, that's fine. You got mono. And then the other at the same time it also then joins those 2 outputs by that link. So your left and right audio then go back to a wire which goes under the board. You can see it goes. Sorry, I blocked a bit there. Goes underneath and connects to the underneath of pin 38 of where the chip was connected. Where it was connected. It's obviously cut. I actually cut that, so the pin is not connected to the board at pin 38, but the position of 38 on the board. I think it goes to the audio, the normal mono audio sort of input, the amplifier circuitry or whatever that goes to the modulator and all that. And that works, and you can hear it on the TV, but it's extremely quiet. It really is extremely quiet. So I haven't got the what I was expecting there. I was hoping that I would be able to just switch it back to mono and have normal sound back out the ST. And I'm guessing that's going to be something to do with the values of these resistors and things here. These 1Ks might not be enough. There could be too much. Not really sure. I need to do a bit more experimentation with that, but to be honest, I'm only going to use the 3. You still get mono out of. I think it's important to know. Where's it gone there? You still get mono out of the 3.5mm audio connector anyway. So once you switch it across, it's mono. Mono comes out of here, and again you switch it back, and it's stereo. So it's working. That's serving the purpose really. It just means, like I say, if you use the original SCART cable on a different TV or something, you're going to get really quiet sound. So I might readdress that at some point and do a bit more experimentation and just looking at the size of those resistors really. I might even change the circuit, completely. I don't know. This whole idea of using these caps here, to merge the one particular channel. I'm not sure it's the best approach. It certainly works for me, like I say, and it sounds absolutely awesome in stereo. I'll do some videos of some games later on. Funnily enough, a bit of a side note, actually, I was trying to test Bubble Bobble because that's one of my favourites, and I found Bubble Bobble 2, and I was like, where did this come from? I didn't even know I had it. So, yeah, we're not talking about Rainbow Islands, by the way, because that is actually what is classed, as Bubble Bobble 2, but I actually found Bubble Bobble 2, which was a completely different version of Bubble Bobble with different level layouts and everything. One final thing before I reassemble this that's important to know as well is, well, I guess it's not really important, but it certainly was to me. the way I tested this, obviously with the key click, you know, so you switch it on, white screen, it's looking for the floppy. If you hold down spacebar, you get a click, repeating key click. And what I wanted to do was ensure that that was in the centre channel, you know, split evenly between the left and right. Whatever channel that sound comes on, I wanted it to, you know, like I say, be in the centre channel. And to start with, I found that was on the left. It was on the left pin, the left channel. So all I did is swap my left channel and the centre channel wires round that come from the Yamaha chip here, and retested it, and that's fine. So now when you've got the standard key click for, you know, gem, you'll hear it in both speakers just like you would normally. It sounds just normal. But then you load a game up and, you know, it's stereo. That channel, you know, it's obviously split between the left and right ears. Anyway, I'll reassemble this now, and I'll record some gameplay videos later so you can hear what it sounds like.